Brandis, there are 15 days until the new city council ward map needs to be approved, or else it goes from the back room to the voters. And here to talk about that and more are Alderman Emma Mitz of the 37th Ward on the west side, Alderman Gilbert Villegas of the 36th Ward on the northwest side and chair of the Latino Caucus, Alderman Jason Irvin, who represents the 28th Ward on the west side and chair of the Black Caucus, and Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor of the 20th Ward on the south side. Welcome back to all of you. I just want to lay out a proposal by the Latino Caucus for a new ward map. It would draw 16 majority African-American wards. That's down from 18. 15 majority Latino wards. That's up from 13, as well as one ward with a majority Asian American population. That would be up from 0. Alderman Irvin, as head of the Black Caucus, you've said no way, no how on this. What is your proposal?
You know, our proposal is primarily we're working with the committee on committees and rules as it relates to the process that has been laid out. If we reach a point where we need to produce something, we are ready, willing, and able to do such. But right now, we would like to work with our colleagues to create a map that is equitable to all parties and works for the council as well.
Alderwoman Mitz, if Chicago's Latino population has grown and Chicago's African-American population has fallen over the last 10 years, mathematically, does it make sense to increase Latino majority wards and decrease majority African-American wards?
Actually, we just want to stay with the Voters' Right Act. We don't want to put minority against each other. And so I think that we can accomplish that goal without having to do that.
Alderman Villegas, you're leading the map charge here with the Latino Caucus. Is there a compromise that you could strike with the Black Caucus or with other members of City Council?
Well, I would say that any time you're talking about legislation, there's always a starting point and then there's an opportunity to compromise. What you saw put forward and proposed by the Latino Caucus was a starting point because there really wasn't anything to really look at. People were talking about a map, we put forward a map, and that really is starting the dialogue. I would suspect that as we get closer to the deadline and we can communicate and have true discussions and compromise, there's always the ability to get to 41. And I look forward to working with my colleagues to try to get there.
Alderman Villegas, is there a map that you would support that would keep 18 majority African-American wards?
I would say this, if my colleague from the Black Caucus can draw 18 wards, legally and allowing the Latino Caucus to have 15 seats. That is something definitely we would be willing to entertain. But the reality is that what we put forward is based on data, the Voting Rights Act, as well as what the citizens of Chicago want. And we haven't seen what the 18 wards look like. But again, if my colleague from the Black Caucus can draw 18 wards, that is something for us to really take into consideration. This is all about compromise. This is all about having serious discussions, and we look forward to having and continuing those discussions.
Part of what outside groups want, Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor, is to stop dividing up neighborhoods, carving up neighborhoods into multiple wards. You represent part of Englewood, and you share that neighborhood with at least 4 other alder people. So will City Council come together on a map that doesn't divide up neighborhoods?
So they're behind the 8-ball when it comes to this. While I agree that we need to create maps with our community, this thing is due December 1st. And so this is conversation that we should have started having in January, but I totally agree that we should be working with the people. We got to start working behind closed doors and actually include the people we represent in a lot of these conversations. And we're starting to move in that direction, but we're not there. We're just not there. And so as a rookie with no seniority, and I got a loss. Part of my Englewood is empty because of Norfolk Sutherland. And so I have to get population where I can. And unlike some other folks, I'm willing to build those relationships. I got to knock doors. I got to talk to my neighbors. I got to get out the vote. And so for me, I don't have a foot in this game. I have to take what I can, and I'm grateful that the communities that are surrounding me are able to say, here is some folks, because they could afford to give me more people in my ward. So, but we do have to have a real conversation before the next 10 years. We wait till the last minute. We need to start having those conversations right after the census, and we just couldn't because of the time we was in. But people are on point for elected officials and neighbors to work together to create a map that's fair, and that includes everybody.
And part of the arcane rules here are that if no map gets a support of 41 council members, then it'll go to the public for a referendum. Alderman Irvin, is this where this is likely headed?
Well, as my colleague stated, we're not at that point right now. That is always, as you say, the nuclear option. It's probably in everyone's best interest to try to sit down and forge a plan that works. This is the first time that my colleague has stated what he has stated, and that's a challenge. And I'm going to ask my cartographers to see if they're able to meet the challenge that he has put on the table.
You're saying 18 majority African-American wards and 15 majority Latino wards, or 16 majority.
Correct, and I will put that on the table for our cartographer to see what can happen. And so again, this is a very fluid process, as has been stated. It is a legislative process, so we want to work together to try to create what will work for not only the council, but also for the city of Chicago, because again, we are representatives of the people, and who the best people are to help, those that they're representing. So we know the communities, we know the issues, we know the challenges, we also know the concerns. So I believe we're the best ones to make those decisions on behalf of the folks.
Traditionally, and this year is no different, a behind-the-scenes process, and the public, certain public groups believe the public has not had input. Alderwoman Mitz, has the public had enough say in the way these maps are being drawn?
I don't know if I could say the public have had enough say in it. I think that individuals have talked about it. I know I've talked about it at my community meetings. In fact, I had Chairman Irvin to come on and address some of the concerns that residents may have had. But until we get the final picture, then we're still making changes. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
All right, I want to move on to another subject. Alderwoman Taylor, the deadline is today for Mayor Lightfoot to submit a response to the IG report into her office's handling and other offices' handling of the Anjanette Young botched police raid. The mayor told us last night she is instead going to send it back to the IG and recommend it continue its investigation. Should that report be public?
It should be. Taxpayers, if we ultimately are going to pay for a lawsuit that Ms. Young and her attorney have filed, we have a right as citizens who are going to pay for it to see that report. That is correct. And honestly, this is dragged on too long. If the city and Anjanette Young and everybody agrees that her house was wrongfully raided and this was wrong, pay the woman what she owed and be done with it. And then let's talk about legislation, how to do something different. How are we making sure that the police don't do this again? What is in place? And so for me, this is dragged on for too long for something that everybody said is wrong.
Alderman Gilbert Villegas, the mayor's pretty steadfast here on not releasing that report at this point. How far is City Council willing to go to force the release of this report?
I think the more information, as my colleague from the 20th Ward said, the more information that's put out there, the better. This didn't happen under her watch. And so let's just go ahead and figure out what were the issues, what took place. Go ahead and make sure that Ms. Anjanette Young, this does not happen again.
But part of this report is looking at what Mayor Lightfoot's office knew and when about this case.
That's what I'm saying. So this issue didn't even occur under her watch. Sometimes it's the cover-up that's more than what the initial issue is. And so this is exactly what's occurring. Let's bring this forward so that we were not putting ourselves in a position like this again. I mean, to take a look and remember that video of Ms. Anjanette Young, that was something that was very frustrating. I saw my mom, I saw my aunt, I saw my cousins, and it was just disheartening. We have to fix that and make sure that it never occurs again.
All right, Alderwoman Taylor, also today, Mayor Lightfoot announced that there would be a new permanent head of COPA, Andrea Kirsten, who had been the interim head since the former chief, Sidney Roberts, had stepped down. You signed a letter saying, no, you don't like this move. Why are you against this?
What was the purpose of bringing up Officer French? The thought that they dragged this woman and brought her in, this woman is deceased. Her family is still dealing with, we're all dealing with that. She was an officer who actually supported Ms. Young. And so why would she bring that up? And you're just opening up own wounds as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I let me just say this, and I see both sides of this issue. To my understanding, that report was written prior to Mrs. Officer French's death. It is somewhat, and one thing that was stated was that there are no processes or procedures in place in order to redact something like that. I mean, the facts on one hand, we can't say we want transparency, then in the second hand say that we want to be able to pick and choose what we take in and keep in a report.
All right, I have to leave it
I
there.
have to agree.
Okay, go
I
ahead,
have to agree.
Alderman Mitz, very quickly.
Yeah, I have to agree with my colleagues. I too signed on to the letter, but after learning that the statement was made before Officer French had passed away, put it into a different perspective. And I think it was put out in a way that made the public think that she said these things after Officer French had passed. So that made a big difference.
All right, and we have to leave it at just point of clarification for our audience. You're all referring to the fact that Officer Ella French was mentioned in this Anjanette Young report that COPA put out. Officer Ella French obviously tragically lost her life later in a shooting incident. And our thanks now to Alder people Emma Mitz, Gilbert Villegas, and Jason Irvin, and Jeanette Taylor. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.